latest face-off between the executive, legislature and the judiciary. While the government doesn't say anything quite openly on this matter, the Vice President has been very vocal about the accountability of Indian judges. From the collegiate system to basic doctrine, he has been raising pertinent questions on who is supreme in India, the Supreme Court or the Parliament. This time, the court itself may have provided ammunition because it isn't just about the VP. Many others are also worried about the Supreme Court's latest judgment on governors and bills. The case stemmed from a prolonged standoff between the Tamil Nadu government and Governor R.N. Ravi. The Supreme Court deemed governors' refusal to assent to bills as illegal and unconstitutional, but it also went on to establish clear timelines for governors and even the president to act on bills. While the governor's refusal to give assent to bills is problematic in many cases, Jagdeep Dhankhar has questioned if the court can now direct even the president. So let me just break down some of the biggest attacks that have come from the Vice President himself. He says judges are acting as super parliament and that Article 142 has become a nuclear missile being used against Indian democracy. Raking up the latest order on bills, he also said that judiciary cannot direct the president in a democracy, certainly not in the Indian system. Further escalating his attack, Vice President also raked up the Justice Verma cash haul controversy and said that Constitution accords immunity only to president and governors and not anyone else. He added that judiciary's liberty cannot be used as a cover against investigation. What exactly is Article 142? That's become the latest topic of debate. Now, this article gives Supreme Court the power to transcend limitations of a law or statute in order to ensure complete justice to the parties involved. The article enables Supreme Court to exercise executive and legislative functions in certain situations, such as issuing out guidelines, directions or orders to the government or other authorities. It also allows Supreme Court to intervene in matters of public interest, human rights, constitutional values or fundamental rights in a bid to protect the public from any kind of violation or infringement. Now, it's a real question of what to do if governors sit endlessly on bills passed in assemblies. But was the Supreme Court order the right solution for it? The reason this judgment is creating issues is because of the following. Firstly, it has laid down a detailed guideline for how a governor ought to act in refusing assent to a bill or referring it to the president, and it has given itself the power to issue a mandamus to the governor for failing to act. It has also exercised its powers under Article 142 to hold that bills that the Tamil Nadu governor did not assent to will become law. Finally, it has also given itself the power to issue a mandamus even to the president when the bill has been referred to the president by the governor. Now, earlier judgments where Article 142 was used by courts have never created this kind of furore. That's because most of them were related to ordinary citizens and by and large were seen as giving swift justice or relief. But here is why many feel that courts may have crossed a line as far as this judgment is concerned. The power to issue a writ of mandamus actually has its origins in the power of the British monarch. But in the Indian context, it is the president that is the head of the state and like the British monarch. The president is supposed to act only on the aid and advice of Prime Minister and Council of Ministers. This order changes that constitutional position if the court can now issue a mandamus even to the president. What if the president doesn't follow the court? Can the court then haul up the president for contempt? The president, remember, cannot be made personally liable in court for her actions. Our democracy functions with a very delicate balance between the three arms and their powers. If on one side, courts have the power of Article 142 that can be used for justice, social good, the president's powers or the governor's powers to veto or withhold a bill, also known as a pocket veto, is also a constitutional provision provided to check an out-of-line government. For example, Gyani Zail Singh had used it to push back against Rajiv Gandhi's government's controversial postal bills. So clearly, neither side should try to encroach on each other's positions. So are courts really misusing their powers, or is this an unwarranted attack as far as the judiciary of the country is concerned? That debate is coming up.
Judges who will legislate, who will perform executive functions, who will act as super parliament.
सुप्रीम कोर्ट जो है वो फाइनल है, सुप्रीम कोर्ट को हम मानते हैं। अब ये नहीं कह सकते कि सुप्रीम कोर्ट जब हमारे हित की बात करेगा तब हम स्वीकार करेंगे।
a person who is holding the constitutional post, like the Vice President, he should first respect the constitutional institution like Supreme Court.
बहुत संवेदना से सोचने की जरूरत है। एग्जीक्यूटिव हो, लेजिस्लेचर हो, जुडिशियरी हो, यहाँ तक कि मीडिया भी। अगर इसमें एक फाइन बैलेंस नहीं रहा तो मेरा मानना है कि किसी को ओवररीच से बचना चाहिए।
तो कौन कर रहा है प्रेसिडेंट की पावर को कर रहे हैं? दिस इज इन फैक्ट एन इंट्रूजन ऑन द सुप्रीमेसी ऑफ द लेजिस्लेचर। ये तो उल्टी बात है।
Mandating Honorable the President, to my understanding, was not correct in my view.
Let's go across to our guest joining us. Arshdeep Kadial is Congress spokesperson, a lawyer himself. Desh Ratan Nigam is also an advocate. He's backing the Vice President's view in this case. Tausif Khan is an advocate joining us, also R. Rajagopalan, senior journalist. Mr. Rajagopalan, why don't I begin with you? The government has been very categorical, not really to, if I can use the term, poke the judiciary as far as this matter is concerned. Yes, Mr. Rijiju kind of batted for NJAC, but then he was changed as law minister. Since then, the government hasn't talked about it. Recently, Amit Shah was on Rising Bharat, the News 18 event, and he said the court is investigating. Till then, there's no question of the government doing anything. Then how do you see the Vice President almost running his own movement in this case?
Vice President is absolutely on his side, and whatever he has a respect, and he is a senior lawyer in the Supreme Court. Therefore, he knows what are all the privileges, what are all the, he has to speak or not to speak. But at the same time, FIR has not been filed against the judge, Mr. Jashwant Verma. That is the contentious part Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar has been holding. Even on the day when the news broke, it is Mr. Jagdeep Dhankhar who called leader of the House and leader of the opposition to his chamber and wanted to have extra judicial powers, and that has to be done National Judicial Accountability Commission. So therefore, Vice President has been toying with that idea of overreach of the Supreme Court or the High Court. For example, Shivani Madam, in Chennai, one minister, Ponmudi, has spoken against the Hindu religion. The High Court ordered an FIR yesterday. The government is toying with that idea whether to go for FIR or not. Similar thing, why Chief Justice of India not ordered an FIR against Justice Yashwant Verma?
Their own, one of their own. Okay, let me take that forward with Arshdeep Kadial. Let's just go point by point. Let's just look at what Jagdeep Dhankhar is saying. In fact, this is a question many citizens are asking. What about when one of your own is caught in what seems to be a corruption case? Why is it that the judiciary is investigating on its own? Jagdeep Dhankhar very clearly said, investigation is not part of the court's prerogative. Investigation is with the executive. How can the court investigate and then also deliver any judgment on Justice Verma's case?
See, number one, the most important thing here is that the Prime Minister has yet not spoken. The Home Minister has yet not spoken. The Law Minister has yet not spoken. We want to know it from the Bharatiya Janata Party that do they welcome the statement of the Vice President or do they not? It was the duty of Mr. Modi, being the Prime Minister, to ensure that the judiciary and the constitution are not undermined. But yet again, the Prime Minister has failed in his duty. Third is that there are two matters here. Does this statement amount to contempt of court or does it not?
I'll come to that later, but let's look at the Justice Verma issue, for example. Is it wrong for the Vice President to ask, this is what a commoner is asking, that if the commoner was found with so much cash haul, there would be action on them, but not even an FIR in this case?
Well, number one, is the matter not under inquiry? Is a committee not already looking into it? Has the committee concluded? It is underway, right?
Arshdeep, that's the question I asked. The committee is an internal committee of the judges itself. What principle of natural justice says that you can investigate your own matter or what pertains to you? And as Jagdeep Dhankhar said, investigation is not the prerogative of the judiciary. They don't investigate matters.
Just two things to it. One, when there was this controversy of a judge making remarks that he was not supposed to, was it pointed out by the Honorable Vice President? No. Number two.
No, remarks are different than cash haul.
No, one second. If I may, if I may, it maybe is different for you, but a wrong is a wrong and a right is a right. Number one. Number two.
You can't jail people or file FIR for remarks even if you don't like it. We don't live in that kind of a police state, right?
It's not about liking or disliking. It's about the outcomes and consequences of that remark. And please allow me to complete. Now, going by your logic, Shivani, that the principle of natural justice says that you cannot be a judge in your own case, one of you can't adjudicate your matter, is what you're saying. By that logic, when let's say Bharatiya Janata Party's leader is to be prosecuted, should they be prosecuted by a central agency? Because given that
I don't understand what argument you're making, Ashpreet. It's not making any sense.
The people are understanding it. The people are understanding it. If you would allow me to complete, I'll make you understand it also. The fact is that all the agencies come under the blanket of the government. And when a Bharatiya Janata Party's leader, when the government's minister or an MLA or an MP is to be prosecuted, can they be prosecuted by one of the agencies?
But that's the system the country has. It's not a system that has been made today.
It's about conflict of interest. It's about logic.
Every case against any sitting minister or politician has always been fought or investigated by the same agencies.
Exactly, that's what I'm telling you. And the same follows for judiciary also. Whenever
so you are okay with it, right? You are saying the judges can investigate this whole matter themselves.
You have asked 10 questions.
I've not asked 10 questions. I'm asking you this one question only.
No, 1 second. People may rewind it and see you asked 10 questions. Please allow me a minute uninterrupted. I'll answer all your questions.
I've given you 3 minutes already, Ashpreet.
3, it's not been. You may check it also. Please allow me to complete now. Give me 30 more seconds. The fact of the matter is that the question here is that a vice president, a sitting vice president, has called Article 142B.
I'll come to that. No, I'm sorry. You won't divert from my question. No, I'm sorry. I'm not going to allow this endlessly. Let me go across the question. Not like this. You can't keep dodging the question I'm asking you and keep drawing unnecessary parallels. I'll come to Article 142. I told you. Tausif Khan, is it fair to expect, and this is not about VP Dhankar himself, he may be the voice that is reading this charge, but a lot of people, ordinary public must also be wondering, why not similar action? It's fine, you may not be able to arrest a sitting judge, just at the behest of an FIR, etc. But why not similar action as any other ordinary individual when such a huge cash haul is found at one of the judge's residence? The only action so far is that they've been transferred and have taken oath in Allahabad High Court again. There the jurists or the lawyers were protesting the fact that the judge has been sent back, and there's been nothing else since. It's been a month since the committee as well.
No, Mr. Dhankar not actually talked about Justice Verma, the cash haul, because that is a long gone, like an old story. He already spoke about it a month ago. Yesterday, he actually attacked Supreme Court on Supreme Court exercising its powers under Article 142 of the Constitution for giving complete justice. And what is that? The governor had passed the bill, referred the bill from Tamil Nadu. The Tamil Nadu democratically elected government passed a law, and it required presidential assent. And the president has been sitting on that law from last 2 years. And
one second. I'll come back to the 142 issue. The governor, the vice president has absolutely mentioned Justice Verma's case yesterday in his speech. It is not an old matter. You cannot just brush it under the carpet because it's inconvenient for you right now. I'm sorry.
No, it's not about convenience.
So then why are you not talking about it?
Okay, give me 10 seconds. Give me 10 seconds. Under inquiry. You see what is happening? In the last 3-4 days. The Supreme Court has passed a judgment which said that Urdu is not a Muslim language, do not spread hate. Urdu is an Indian language. The Supreme Court has indicated that it is going to pass a stay order in Waqf amendment, and then the Vice President is making this kind of a statement criticizing the Supreme Court because the
Justice Verma cash haul didn't happen.
The BJP may not be happy. President is talking about the president.
No, I don't understand. Why can't we, in a mature democracy, discuss the issues that are on the table for us? Yes, I will discuss 142 too, but how does it look if nobody is willing to even address the fact that there is a serious question over accountability of judges, not just whether they are accountable in terms of the constitutional provisions, but also in terms of any criminality or corruption that is found. 1 second, Tausif. 1 second, Tausif, not like this. I gave you time, you skirted around the issue.
Yes, there are some, if a judge has to be removed, he has to be impeached through a parliament. The Bar Association in Allahabad High Court has condemned the transfer and boycotted the judge. And the judge has not been given any judicial work, even though he has been transferred. So in a way, he has been punished. Now,
Punished. That's a punishment.
An FIR
That's the punishment.
Lodged, that is for a question.
Okay. All right. Deshatan Nigam. On the issue of Justice Verma, and then I'll come to 142. On the issue of Justice Verma, why is it that this is creating so much discomfort? That the VP himself is leading the charge of accountability as far as the probe is concerned?
Well, Shivani, in fact, if you look at the entire gamut of things, it has been simmering since quite some time, where the functions of the three pillars have been clearly defined. Supreme Court is supreme in its own sphere for interpreting constitution and releasing judgments for redressal of grievances. Parliament for making policies and legislation, laws, and executive to implement them. Very clear demarcation in the constitution. However, recently it has been seen that through judgments, executive functions are being taken over by the judiciary, which is they want to appoint chief election commissioners and commissioners also. They want to appoint the CBI director, which has become a law. It was never intended by the Constituent Assembly, which made the constitution, or the present parliament. Never, because they do not have the wherewithals to look into the facts, circumstances about an individual, do inquiry. They have to depend on the executive for all the reports. Investigation, no court does its own investigation, because only when the investigation comes through form of evidence before the court, they apply their mind. They do not investigate. They do not have the wherewithal, competence or capability to investigate. Therefore, there are specialized investigating agencies like CBI or ED or various other police machinery that they have. Therefore, to go into that field is taking over executive functions.
So, do you think there is pressure? Let me move forward a little bit. Do you think there is pressure building on the judiciary to do something as far as this case is concerned?
You know, our judiciary has to be above pressure. If suddenly for them a Waqf case becomes so important that all cases, how many years Ram Mandir took? Please tell me, in the courts?
Over 70 years.
Yes. So therefore, suddenly Waqf comes, the first place is to go to the High Court. Otherwise, what happens? Anybody who loses, this is irrespective of political ideology, anybody who loses in Supreme Court, that means effectively it has lost one step of appeal. If they had gone to the High Court, they would have come to the Supreme Court. This is taking away their fundamental right. This is very important. If they had gone to the Supreme Court, so this judiciary has to be above pressure, any kind of pressure. Here it appears they are getting selective. I'm very clear on it. Certain cases they are very selective. For them it is urgent. Other cases for them it is not urgent.
And you know, once something like the Justice Verma cash haul comes into public domain, you can't just ignore it or brush it under the carpet. Yes, public memory can be a little bit short sometimes, but it's not that short. And surely, even amongst the public, there would be a question that this is the test case, how the judiciary deals with one of their own. It's very simple, it's very easy to talk about corruption elsewhere, in the executive or in the legislature, but what about if there is corruption in the judiciary? I want to go across to R. Rajagopalan once again. Let's come to the question of Article 142. The courts have given many judgments, about 3 to 4 in the last 1.5 years, using Article 142. Never has it created such a problem, because they've used it in cases where one was pertaining to marriage and divorce, another was wife's pension, etc. In this case, why is it such a problem? Because here we did have a breakdown of a constitutional machinery where the governor was just unwilling to act on bills. How long can a governor be allowed to sit on bills, as R.N. Ravi was?
R.N. Ravi has explained this through his affidavit to the Supreme Court. R.N. Ravi has listed out because of certain corrupt practices of the Tamil Nadu government, but Supreme Court overruled it, which we appreciate it. Apart from that, if Tamil Nadu government DMK is elected by people of 8 crores, and Mr. R.N. Ravi should listen to that, decision of the Chennai Tamil Nadu legislature. Similar thing is also applicable to Mr. Narendra Modi, because he has been elected by 140 crore people of India, voters of India. Why that law has been hit? 142. The Supreme Court should also learn.
That's a lie.
That is why Vice President said, Mr. Supreme Court should not become a mini parliament. because many of the members of parliament who oppose in the house on Waqf board bill, they support it in the parliament outside. Therefore, diabolical issue of politics. That is the reason 142 has become a contentious issue on politics. And Vice President,
but what to do? What to do when governors are creating this issue, especially in opposition ruled states where they're just, let's face it, an assembly is also the will of the people in the state. How long can you hold that?
The buck stops at President of India. President of India can do or undo the things, but Supreme Court has no authority to direct
the President
of India
or the governors. Yes. So, Ashdeep, that's where the contentious issue comes. As far as the Constitution itself says, the President only acts on the aid and advice of the Council of Ministers and the Prime Ministers. The court has had no powers, has no jurisdiction, and some would say no business to tell the President how or when she should act, and that power trickles down to the governors as well. So in this case, just on that issue, forget the principal issue of what R.N. Ravi, the governor's case is, but on the issue of directing, giving itself powers to direct governors and set timelines and govern, give directions even to the President, did the court cross a line?
In the world's largest democracy, allow me to please complete.
Yeah.
Number one, in the world's largest democracy, it is the Constitution that is supreme. It is the guardian of the Constitution, judiciary, that is to ensure that it is protected, the articles mentioned in it are respected and regarded and not undermined. And the people are supreme here. But the fact is that I don't know why would anyone want for anyone to be above checks and balances. If there are going to be checks and balances, there would be accountability.
But what about the checks and balances of the judiciary? When I was asking you that question, you were skirting around it. What is the checks and balances on our judiciary today?
Answering that question as well, I just hope you'll allow me the time, unlike the last segment. Now, as far as acting against the concerned judicial officer is concerned, did the judiciary not constitute a committee? Is that committee not looking into the matter? Or have we or the people who are questioning this have lost faith in the judiciary?
No, but is that a check and balance? Check and balance is that somebody else can have some monitoring authority over you. You can't be a check and balance of yourself. That's the problem here.
Answering a question, the Bharatiya Janata Party has been in power for the last 11 years. If they say the system is not right, they could have brought a law and they could have done away with the impeachment process. They would have done away with it, but they did not do away with it. It is still in. It's still in there in the Constitution. Number two, 1 second, allow me to please complete. Number two, if the Bharatiya Janata Party has not
one by one. Yes, let him complete.
If the Bharatiya Janata Party's government has not done away with it, if the Bharatiya Janata Party has not questioned it, they cannot use it now. And second,
why not? Can you
1 second, please let me complete. What we are saying here is that the order of the Supreme Court ensures checks and balances. What is the problem? If a bill is going to be decided within 3 months,
so I told you what the problem is. I enumerated what the problem is. The Constitution does not give the judiciary, Tasif, I'm coming to you with the same question, does not, as it stands, does not give the judiciary the power to direct the President. In this case, it is almost seeming like the judges appointing judges, that was also a power that courts gave themselves over a series of judgments. The Constitution did not provide for judges appointed judges. This collegium system did not exist in the Constitution.
Yes, Tasif. Just 10 more seconds, please. All I'm saying is that this is for the betterment of the people. Why? Due to this, the bills won't keep on hanging. The bills would be decided either there would be a yes or a no.
All right, betterment for the people.
If it is yes, it will be passed. If it will be a no, it will be amended.
Yes.
You see, what is the judgment? First of all, let us see what is the judgment and where does the Supreme Court gets its power from to pass such a judgment. It is from Article 142, which clearly says that for a complete justice, Supreme Court can do that. What has Supreme Court done? Supreme Court has directed that the President, who has been sitting with this law passed by a non-BJP ruled state from last 2 years, that you must act within 3 months. Court is not saying that you have to give assent. Court is not saying that you have to reject it. Court is saying that you have the power to accept it or to send it back to the legislature with your comments, but do that. Do not just sit there for it's been 2 years. Now, we have seen in Waqf amendment, a law was passed within a day. The day, or maybe the bill was sent in the morning and it was signed by the president, sent back in the evening.
Yeah, but it
Because
went through
president
JPC
does
and
not
Parliament.
enjoy any
Let's not
authority,
ignore that
personal
process.
authority.
Obviously, the
Please,
president doesn't have to
please,
take
let me-
3 days to give assent to it.
Come on, let me, please,
Yeah.
do not interrupt.
25
me, do not
hours they
interrupt me.
discussed,
You see,
24
president,
hours.
please, come on, do not interrupt me. President does
24
not
hours to
enjoy a
work out
power.
of this
Please,
case.
please,
18
you are
hours.
too old for me to
JPC
be-
was
to
done.
misbehave with
Why
you.
are
Please
you
do not interrupt
misleading?
me.
JPC was
this
done.
gentleman, please,
JPC
this
6
gentleman
months they
should not interrupt
deliberated.
me.
Why are you
No, I'm
misleading?
requesting
Okay,
you, please,
let him-
do not- ask this
Let him
gentleman to
let
not
him continue.
interrupt me.
I don't want to
why
waste
he's
time
saying
over
that?
this cross talk, please. Yes,
You see-
Kasi, please
you-
finish. Yes.
You see, the president, does not act on its own. President has no authority. It is a titular post. And
Yes.
president acts on the advice of the cabinet.
Yes.
Obviously, this is becoming political. BJP has no government in Tamil Nadu. Now, these are the Tamil Nadu government is also
No,
elected
but
by the people.
okay,
and this
to
is for
play
the benefit
devil's
of the
advocate,
people.
Kasi,
Tamil Nadu, yeah.
Kasi,
If
one second,
Supreme
one
Court
by
is
one,
not
not like this. Please, gentlemen, please. So I
See,
started
I'm going
started
to
off by
these
saying that there is
these
certainly a
RSS
problem.
chap speak,
Kasi,
I don't
I don't want to
interpret.
speak over you. There is certainly a problem where you have a situation in a state where 10, 12 bills are being passed and none of them are getting an assent of the governor. There is certainly a problem here. We have to fix that situation. Whether a Supreme Court judgment setting guidelines is the solution is the question we are asking. So the question here is this. You are saying, Tausif, the president, this is becoming political because there is a central BJP government, president acts on the central government's advice, and this is a bill case coming from Tamil Nadu. But to play devil's advocate, you have to ask the question, why should any executive, which is the center in this case, forget which government, because this is going to become a precedent for all governments to come. Why should any executive allow the judiciary to usurp its place? That's the problem. If the executive has the power to direct the president what to do or not to do, why should that power on the actions of the judiciary go to the judiciary?
No, that question itself is wrong. Just because Dhankar today says that this amounts to usurping, you are accepting it.
No, but it is no. When the judiciary in constitution doesn't have the power to set these timelines, then it is usurpation.
Who created the post of president? Who created this parliament? Constitution.
The constitution doesn't have it. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Constitution is supreme. Which world do you live in?
The constitution doesn't allow it.
Dhankar live in? Dhankar is becoming vice president. Where does he got this opportunity from? From the constitution.
I'm not sure if I'm not explaining it correctly or what is the issue here. Okay, let me go across to Deshratan Nigam. The problem is exactly this. Via a judgment, you have given yourself a power. Sure, Article 142 exists, but what did it exist for this purpose? Or was it to ensure complete justice to other individuals, not to give more powers to yourself? That's the question.
Well, Shivani, let me make one thing very, very clear to the people who are watching your program, that people of this country are supreme, not the constitution. Please understand that.
Yeah.
People created the constitution. Creator is always greater than the created. And therefore, the people have the power to change the constitution, modify it, amend it. Therefore, you have seen how many amendments, 125, 26 amendments we have seen till now. So, constitution cannot be supreme. It is the people of this country who are supreme. That is the folly which most of the people have started, freezing the constitution that it is supreme. If it was supreme, how amendments are taking place?
Sure.
It is taking place because of the will of the people. Because we, the people of this country, for the people, of the people, and by the people, the words which have been used in the constitution, in the preamble, they are the guide, the key to the constitution. The will of the people cannot be, killed at any point of time. Now, 142 does give power to the courts, especially the Supreme Court, to fill certain gaps, not to legislate. Please understand there is a difference. To fill the gaps if the laws are insufficient, and that has to be in terms of the policy or the laws framed by the constitution, under the constitution by the parliament, not contrary to the law which has already been passed by the parliament.
In this case, Deshratan Nigam, the problem is not just that the court has set timelines. Fair enough. You could argue what is wrong. If president and governors functioned according to a timeline, it only adds more accountability. The more problematic aspect could be that there is a judicial review of the president's actions. The president so far has never been governed by the judiciary, cannot be called into court for their actions.
President is supreme. He is the head of the state, and he is expected to be friend, philosopher, and guide to the nation and to the executive, and also to the judiciary. Please understand, his position is very above than even the Prime Minister. Prime Minister is from a political party, but a president is supposed to be neutral and is a friend, philosopher, and a guide. And you have to trust your president and governors. Now, in the case of the Tamil Nadu government, what had happened that he had, for the second time, he had sent it to the Legislative Assembly,
Yes.
and then it had come back, then it reserved. It was his discretion.
Desh Ratan Nigam is bigger than Ambedkar.
Please, just shut up.
One by one. Let's not make personal comments like this. Let's learn.
Just shut up, because I generally don't get angry. And
Go ahead.
Why.
Desh Ratan Nigam, please finish. I want to take a final comments from our guests.
See. Therefore, when he sent it for second time to the assembly, maybe he, in the first instance, there was some oversight, legal oversight or something. He applied his mind second time, and he thought it could be reserved for the president.
No, so this power to reserve. No, I come to the heart of the issue. The power to reserve is a lacuna of sorts that is in our constitution. And it has been used in the past by governors and presidents when they do not want to give assent, which is the delicate balance that I talked about, R. Rajagopalan. If court has Article 142, the presidents and the governors also use this pocket veto, as it is called. That is also the nuance of our system.
Shivani, as a young journalist, I reported that Jani Jai Singh refused to sign the postal bill. I reported it. Ramnath Goenka in Indian Express published it as a lead story. What does it mean? Will Supreme Court impress upon the president to sign that? Supreme Court is not Parliament. Parliament is not Supreme Court. That is why we have 4 pillars of democracy. Supreme Court is overacting. Jagdeep Dhankhar is right.
Okay.
What's the problem with
what's
the problem
15
with
seconds, Arshdeep.
All I want to ask is, one, the Bharatiya Janata Party has already run away from this debate, maybe because they did not have answers to our questions. Number 2, no one in this debate has been able to suggest even a single problem that there is with this order, because if there would be a time-bound decision making that would have to be done within 3 months, it will help the people. It is for the betterment of our society.
Okay.
Not for the world. Number 2, allow me please complete.
But what about time-bound legal cases? Then this argument why not a time limit for legal cases?
Sorry?
Why not a time limit for legal cases?
Okay, let's say, going by your logic, Shivani, there is no time limit to legal cases like you just suggested. So there should be no time limit to this also?
No, I am saying the principles you apply to others must apply to you.
Can it be justified?
That is the touchstone of correct action. Anyways, I've run out of time. I do thank all of our guests for joining us. Of course, we'll keep discussing this very burning issue in days to come. Time for a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you latest from Bengal. Remember, Waqf protests turned absolutely violent in the state, particularly in Murshidabad. Situation remains tense. Hindus in the area are now sounding an SOS to the centre. We'll get you ground reports that tell you the truth. Stay with us.
लाल रंग इसका
Welcome back. West Bengal government submitted a report to the Calcutta High Court assuring that law and order situation in violence-hit Murshidabad is under control. The government informed the court that several affected families have taken shelter in relief camps. Efforts are being made to facilitate the return of displaced individuals to their homes. Earlier in the day, Bengal governor met Hindus who fled Murshidabad after the violence, assuring help to those affected. A team from the NHRC visited a refugee camp in Malda to assess the situation and provide support to the displaced families. They're also looking into the killing of two Hindus, father-son duo in Murshidabad. The NHRC will monitor the conditions in the relief camps and make recommendations for safety and well-being. Meanwhile, NCW chairperson Vijaya Dhankar also landed in West Bengal to lead the inquiry into the violence. She will visit affected areas including Malda and Murshidabad over the next 3 days. It's been 7 days since the streets of Murshidabad witnessed that complete mayhem. CNN News 18 has been reporting from ground zero. From the aftermath of the violence to the never-heard-before first-hand account testimonies, these reports from these areas reveal what transpired on April 11th.
At the heart of Dhulian, Shamsherganj. In fact, I'm at Jafrabad. Jafrabad, where two people, a father and son duo, were killed just few meters from here. I am with Krishna Chandrapal, one such family, a Hindu family, who is worried, whose house has been ransacked and they're about to flee. The allegations that were called baseless, now one can see with your own eyes Krishna Chandrapal, who has been living with from his forefathers for 100 years in this house and in this place are living. Sir, क्यों जा रहे हैं आप छोड़ के?
हम इस लोग को उपद्रव से चल जा रहे हैं. इस लोग का हम घर बाड़ी जला दिया, हम लोग को जान मारने के हुमकी दे रहे हैं, तो हम कह रह गया.
उस दिन क्या हुआ था? उस दिन हुआ क्या?
उस दिन में हजार लोग आया और हम लोग को घर बार टूटा दिया, मार देने का कोशिश किया, इसलिए हम पीछे तरह से भाग गया. डीजल देखता है गिरा, डीजल से हमको पूरा मार के.
तो डीजल बम फेंका?
हाँ, डीजल वो देखना गिरा है.
মনে করেছিলাম এইখানে এসেছি, বউ হয়ে এখানেই মরবো, এখানেই বাঁচবো, কিন্তু আমাদেরকে থাকতে দিল না. আমার তিনটা মেয়েকে নিয়ে আমি পিছন দিক দিয়ে বাড়িয়ে গেছি. আমার দিকে মেরে ফেলে, বলছে কি বাড়িয়ে মেরে ফেলে দেবো. কেরোসিন ঢালছে, কেরোসিন, বোমা, ডিজেল এগুলো দিয়ে. আর সোনা ছিল 10 ভরি সোনা, টাকা ছিল 3 লাখ টাকা, সব.
She's crying and she's saying that the day it all happened, 3 lakh were looted, almost 100 grams of 10 bhari of gold jewelry were stolen, and she along with 3 of her daughters had to flee from a back way, and that's how they just managed to save their lives. Petrol bombs were hurled at them, and that's the allegation, and that's why they're leaving. আপনি ছেড়ে চলে যাচ্ছেন?
ছেড়ে চলে যাচ্ছি, কি কোথায় যাবে? এখানে থাকতে পারবো না, আতঙ্ক লাগছে যে এই দিক থেকে লোক চলে আসবে, ওই দিক থেকে হাঙ্গামা করবে. আমরা বিএসএফ এর ক্যাম্প চাই, আমরা বাঁচবো না.
She's saying that we want a BSF camp here, and until unless that happens, we're going to
শাসন চাই.
শাসন চাই
আর কেন্দ্রীয় শাসন চাই.
কেন্দ্রীয় শাসন চাই.
They're asking for a precedence rule in the.
From National Women's Commission to National Human Rights Panel, top officials are on the ground as we speak, taking stock of the aftermath. A short while ago, we had a conversation with NHRC panel member Priyank Kanungu, who sent his team to Murshidabad and Malda. I also want to go across to NHRC member Priyank Kanungu, who's joining us. He has directed a team of the NHRC to visit West Bengal after reports of not just violence, but also exodus of certain families from Murshidabad. And their team has visited Malda today, the relief camps or the temporary camps that have been made for those affected. Mr. Priyank Kanungu, thanks a lot for speaking to CNN News 18. You've also given certain directions to the state administration. Can you tell us, can you begin by telling us what directions you've given them?
As of now, we have issued direction to our investigation team to visit there and submit a report to the commission after meeting the victims and inquire into the incident where on the basis of Hindu religious identity, one father and son were killed who were Dalit family who are from Dalit community. So we had I had issued directions to get the matter inquired, and let the team submit report to us. After that, we will be able to say anything more about this.
You said that they were a Hindu family who was slaughtered, and yes, of course, the case of the father and son duo has come to light, along with one more death that has happened in this violence. You are saying that you received a complaint that this was because of their Hindu identity. What has established that to you? Because the local government is trying to suggest that this could have been personal enmity or some sort of a personal war between the perpetrator and the victims.
देखिए, हमको जो कंप्लेंट मिली है वो कैटेगरिकली ये बोल रही है, कंप्लेंट का जो मजमून है वो ये बता रहा है कि मरने वालों को हिंदू आइडेंटिटी के कारण मारा गया है और मरने वाले हैं भी हिंदू ही। अब आज की स्थिति में मैं आपको ये बता सकता हूँ, अभी आधे घंटे पहले तक का जो मेरे पास जानकारी है, आज जब हमारी टीम वहाँ पहुँची है तो जिस परिवार में पिता पुत्र की मृत्यु हुई है उसके परिजनों से आज भी हमारी टीम की भेंट अभी तक तो 1 घंटे पहले तक नहीं हुई थी। अब प्रशासन ने उनको कहाँ रखा है, क्या किया है, ये भी हमको नहीं पता है। तो लेट द टीम कम बैक एंड सबमिट ए रिपोर्ट टू अस, वी विल बी एबल टू फाइंड आउट व्हाट आर द रियल कॉजेज। बट ये मैं कह सकता हूं कि कंप्लेनेंट ने ये बताया है कि हिंदू आइडेंटिटी की वजह से मारा गया और मूर्ति बनाने वाले दलित परिवार को मारा गया। ये अपने आप में हमको इस और इंगित करता है कि ये कम्युनल हिंसा ही है। और इसके साथ साथ ये भी मैं आपको बता दूं कि आज जब वो विक्टिम परिवार के लोग हमको नहीं मिले हैं तब मामला और भी गंभीर हो जाता है। इसके अलावा जो हमको जानकारी मीडिया रिपोर्ट्स के थ्रू भी मिल रही है, ये स्कूल अकेली ऐसी जगह नहीं है जहाँ पे कि हिंसा से डरकर भागे हुए लोग रह रहे हैं या भगाए हुए लोग रह रहे हैं। मैं कहूँगा ये निश्चित रूप से जो हिंदू परिवार वहाँ से भगाए गए हैं वो झारखंड में भी पहुंचे हैं, वो दूसरी जगहों पर भी पहुंचे हैं। तो हमारा ध्यान इस पर भी रहेगा कि अलग अलग जगहों पे जो हिंदू परिवारों को भगाया गया है, उनको निकाला गया है, उनको प्रताड़ित किया गया है, वे सब आइडेंटिफाई हो, उनका रिहेबिलिटेशन इंश्योर हो और उनके साथ जिस जिस प्रकार की हिंसा की वारदात हुई है उसमें FIRs हों और परपेट्रेटर्स को सजा मिले। इसके अलावा जो इन हिंदू परिवारों की संपत्ति का नुकसान हुआ है उसका भी आकलन करके उनको मुआवजे की तरफ रिकमेंड किया जा सके। सरकारी संपत्ति का नुकसान या अन्य प्रकार के जो नुकसान हुए हैं उन सबको भी हमारी रिपोर्ट में शामिल किए जाने का हमारा प्रयास रहेगा।
एक बात आप बहुत गंभीर बात बोल रहे हैं कि आपकी टीम जो हरगोबिंद जी की फैमिली जिनका मर्डर हुआ है उनकी फैमिली से आप नहीं मिल पाए हैं, क्योंकि कल ही न्यूज़ 18 की टीम ने उनसे बात करी है।
देखिए, मेरे पास 1 घंटे पहले तक का अपडेट है, मैं खुद वहां पर नहीं हूं, लेकिन 1 घंटे पहले तक का अपडेट ये है कि उस परिवार का केवल एक बच्चा ही वहां मिला है जहां मुर्शिदाबाद में ये कत्ल हुआ है। टीम वापस आएगी तब मुझे बताएगी, लेकिन 1 घंटे पहले तक का मैं आपको बता रहा हूं कि टीम की उनसे मुलाकात स्टेट गवर्नमेंट नहीं करा सकी।
जी, ओके। स्टेट गवर्नमेंट
हो सकता है मैं आपको जब ये बात बता रहा हूं, हो सकता है जब मैं आपको ये बात बता रहा हूं तो स्टेट गवर्नमेंट को कुछ चेतना आए और वो हमारी टीम की भेंट करा सके।
ओवरऑल ममता बनर्जी ने तो ये भी कहा है कि बाहर के लोग अब ना ही जाएं मुर्शिदाबाद और मालदा में तो अच्छा रहेगा। गवर्नर की विजिट पे भी उन्होंने थोड़ा ऑब्जेक्शन उठाया है, वो कह रहे हैं कि इससे और भड़क सकते हैं लोग वहां पे।
देखिए, ममता जी हो सकता है नेशन विद इन द नेशन की थ्योरी में यकीन करती हो। नेशन विद इन द नेशन की थ्योरी जो है वो देश को तोड़ने वाला सिद्धांत है। इस भारत में हम कहीं भी आने जाने के लिए स्वतंत्र हैं। ऐसा कोई इलाका नहीं हो सकता जहां भारत के किसी व्यक्ति को जाने से रोका जाए। ममता जी की ये जो सोच है कि एक इस्लामिक स्टेट की तरह एक इलाके को बना दिया जाए और हिंदुओं को वहां से पलायन करने को मजबूर कर दें या हिंदू वहां पे ना जा सके, ये गलत है। एक सेकुलर राष्ट्र में इस तरीके की सोच के साथ प्रशासन करना, शासन करना एकदम गलत परंपराओं को जन्म देने जैसा है।
जी, Priyanka Nangu, thanks a lot for speaking to us. I also want to go across live to Murshidabad now. Ananda Banerjee, news18.com's my colleague joining us. He's been bringing us those reports. Ananda, the question that is on top of everybody's mind right now is the situation good enough for central forces to leave, or do you think the situation will prevail for quite some time?
Well, first of all, the situation is of course better than it was previously. There is a calm, but there is a eerie calm. There is an uneasy calm. People still, there's a growing sense of very fear psychosis among the Hindu community over the affected areas of Dhulian and Suti in Murshidabad district, where everything happened. There is enough central paramilitary forces presence here, but people, the affected villagers, they say that they don't have faith in state government, they don't have faith in authorities that report to the state government. They want BSF camps. I spoke to Haragobind Das, late Haragobind Das's widow yesterday. She demanded a BSF camp. I spoke to another survivor today who was fleeing as we visited. He also said that he wanted a BSF camp. So everybody is asking for somebody or some authority that is sent by the center, because there is a lack of, there's a mistrust or distrust from within the affected families.
And Mamata Banerjee is saying that now the focus is on relief work. They have said in court that relief operations are on, and they will make sure that the families who've been displaced or who've been forced to flee can come back. What more are you learning on that front? How is that work going?
Well, relief indeed is happening, as that is actually true. I have seen with my own eyes. There is an attempt by the administration, there are attempts also by the TMC on a party level to reach out to the affected families. But are they being able to convince them to come back to their houses? That's the question mark. Remember, I'll give you a small example. There's a village called Jafrabad. In that village, there was a community water tank. That community water tank was poisoned so that everybody can die. Thankfully, nothing happened. But that has led people to question that whether they're safe enough. On the part of administration, they have placed a new water tank over there. They are giving relief materials. That's true. But is it enough to instill sense of confidence for them to live as everything is normal? Is it enough to live with dignity, particularly at a time when the supposed majority community is in minority?
And what do the public feel about the charge that most of the rioting happened from outsiders?
Look, I pose this question to almost everybody, every villager, and I haven't come across across a single villager who has pointed out to a Bangladeshi or outsider angle. Everybody is pointing out that it's a local hand. Be it Haragobind Das's family, be it the family that I interviewed who are fleeing their home, that the home they lived for 100 years. Everybody is indicating that the local hand. They're saying that particularly Hindu houses, where houses of Hindu community were targeted, that needs local knowledge and local intelligence. That cannot happen when a person coming from the other side of the border, or for that matter, across the border of within India, say Jharkhand or Bihar. Okay. So that is not happening. So very clear that it is a local hand, but they couldn't identify for the simple reason that their faces were hidden behind masks.
Okay, Ananda, thanks a lot for joining us. More ground updates will keep coming on CNN News 18. Now, a question that is on everybody's mind post this incident is, are Hindus to blame for their own fate in West Bengal? If radical elements have been given a free run, is this a political tipping point too? That's coming up in this week's episode of Plain Speak podcast. Here's a snippet. A lot of people have been saying, Hindol, that what is happening to Hindus, because Hindus were once again the target of this violence in Murshidabad, what is happening to Hindus is because of their own fault, that they're responsible or guilty of their own fate in Bengal. Are you suggesting the same?
I think it's a very complicated historical situation which has brought Bengal to this point. As I mentioned in my tweet, Bengal was where the age of fire, the Agni Yug, transpired in India. Please remember, the fiercest revolutionaries fighting the British all came from Bengal. They were the ones who were the best bomb makers, the best ammunitions makers, the best marksmen, people who could raise armies. Bagha Jatin I mentioned. What is Bagha? Bagha is a Bagh, right? He got his name because he was able to fight a Royal Bengal tiger with his bare hands. Bengal has a very illustrious history of extremely martial people. People think of, the martial race only as the Punjabis, but no, actually the British were terrified in the age of fire, in the Agni Yuga, of what Bengal was churning out. Where
That
did
was
it all
the-
go?
That was the days of a revolution.
Exactly.
quote unquote. You're fighting against an external aggressor. Are you expecting Hindus to pick up arms and become mercenaries today?
Even during Direct Action Day, when Jinnah announced Direct Action Day, people like Gopal Patha and others got together and really fought back to protect themselves. What happened to that spirit? That is more recent than the revolutionary history, right? What happened to that spirit?
Co-powered by Namaste, Jai Hind, Jai Bharat. Welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I'm Ananda. Viewers, it was the 11th of April when protests over the Waqf reform turned violent in West Bengal's Murshidabad district. Scenes of violence and arson with shops,